What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope you're doing good. Hope you've been having a good week. We don't have anything super extravagant or super spectacular lined up for today's video, but we do have a bit of big news. At least big news to me. It's been going on a year now, but we have finally completed the upper level of our second layout. I figured today we'd check it out and go over the last final bits that we got installed. There she is, guys. Check that out. Man, I can't tell you how happy I am to finally have this section of the layout completed. I had to go back and look. It actually took us 11 months, right at almost a year. It's crazy how time flies anymore. But this stuff takes a lot of time to build. And on top of that, I'm not going to lie, this stuff's pretty expensive to do. No, this doesn't look like a whole lot, but there's every bit of $2,000 wrapped up in this scene up top by itself. Now, of course, there's definitely cheaper ways or cheaper alternatives, and what some could argue even being a better or more realistic approach to doing this. But overall, I'm happy with how it's turned out, and I like the processes that we're using, so I stick to them. But like I say, this stuff does take a lot of time and money to do. Hell, I'm really screwed. I don't have a lot of either time or money. I guess that's why it took a year to construct this. But no, seriously, that's why I like doing this layout here on the channel. I know a lot of people seem to get discouraged about building a layout. I consider myself an everyday Joe, a kind of blue-collar worker. I don't have endless amounts of time. You know, I work a full-time job and have other commitments in life, so on and so forth. And I also don't have endless amounts of money falling out of my rear. I just don't have that silver spoon in my mouth. But yeah, that's why it took so long to construct this little scene that we have on the upper section. Now, I know a lot of people get discouraged, you know, they see finished layouts and end results, especially here on YouTube, and they quickly get discouraged upon building their own empire because they see how much energy, time, and money goes into constructing a layout, and it gets a little overwhelming at first. But there's no need to get overwhelmed. If you need to, walk away from it for a bit. What I find to be the best strategy is pick a small section on the layout and work on that until it's complete, and then move on to the next. Before you know it, you're going to have a constructed layout looking good, and it'll be finished. But anyway, what do you say we pick up where we left off in our last layout update video? Since our last video, the first thing I got completed, as you guys can see, I got all the wiring ran. Now all the buildings and light poles and everything are illuminated. They all got power and they're live. And that was a big step. We really had to get that done before we could move on to the next step. The next step after all that was completed was we could finally finish installing our rock wall, mountain siding, whatever you want to call it, onto the face of the elevated section. And honestly, from an aesthetic standpoint, this is the biggest and best thing we've done. I can't tell you how happy I am to have this whole rock wall installed. It looks so much better. It was quite an eyesore before. Over here we had a nice visually, nice looking kind of scene. Then you panned over here and there was a big hole in the layout. You could see under the elevated section. You could see the supports and the trains running under the elevation. It was ugly. So to get this mountain siding installed, yeah, that super, super nice. All this rock wall is our 3/4 inch foam insulation that we've been using practically everywhere on this layout. I'm a big fan of that stuff. But yeah, we carved it up and got it painted and installed, and it looks quite well. We actually did a really good job at color matching. Again, it's been 10, 11 months since we installed these first couple sections over here. And this section has been up for, I don't know, a month or so now. But we did really good at matching the paint. There's no different shades or hues. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. That's a very nice touch. I didn't want it to look completely different from the other sidings that were already installed. I will say, this is a very flat-looking appearance, obviously. It would have been much nicer to have a more natural mountain with a gradual slope extending out into the layout. But unfortunately, it is what it is. We do not have the space to accommodate that, so we got to live with it. Originally, I did ponder about doing a retaining wall or doing a rock wall, but I ended up going with the rock wall for more of a natural look. I don't think a retaining wall would have looked as well with our little lake scene that's up here. This rock wall looks a bit more natural. I do still want it to look like a mountain, or at least a mountain that's been carved into from man to create space for, our railroad or whatever we're going to put here, if that makes any kind of sense. With the rock wall installed, we can now focus on installing this hill on top of the mountain. This was honestly a bit of a bear to do. It's not necessarily our most natural or realistic looking hill, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I had a couple things I wanted to achieve with this hill, but I had to make some compromises on it. I knew I wanted a big hill here. I really wanted a decent sized hill, one for the trains to kind of hide behind as they ran behind it, and then poked back out over here to go over the bridge. But I couldn't build the hill too high because I didn't want to completely block our church scene behind it. So I had to make some compromises, and this is what we came up with. This is 3 layers of that same foam glued together and then carved out to create this hill. Of course, on top of the hill, we got our billboard. This is a Menards piece. I really like this one. Your wife is hot. Time to get your AC fixed. But yeah, we got that installed. I also picked up a couple more pine trees from Scenic Express. I actually like these ones a lot better than the original ones we picked up for our lake scene. Obviously, we got one installed over here. I purchased the other one to install on this side of the mountain, but after looking at it, it was either blocking our billboard sign or it was hindering the view of the church. So I ended up just putting it in over here in front of the UFO scene, kind of give it a little bit more depth and something to put up here. I think it came out well. I honestly don't know what we're going to put on the hill over here. It still looks a bit naked, but at the same time, I can't really put anything big there. I don't want to block the view of the church. I don't know, maybe we'll do some wildlife, some small bushes and whatnot. Obviously, I can't really put any trees there. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should we put on this side of the hill? I'm really not worried about it right now, because this section I can still reach from standing at the face of the layout. I don't have to be on top of it. So it doesn't have to be happening right now. It's not extremely time sensitive. I can do this at any time in the future. But yeah, let me know what you guys think we should put there. The missus did get me some small detail pieces for Christmas that we got installed. She picked up an assortment pack of these bushes and shrubs, which mainly got installed over here at the church scene. I think these spruced it up quite a bit. She also picked us up some more figures. We got quite a few of them installed here in the parking lot. A couple of them really do blend in with the scenery, so they don't stand out that much, but they are still there. And along with those, she got us this 3-pack of pine trees. I forget what the company name is. They came in a gold and black box. I want to say it's golden something. I don't think it's Golden Gate or anything like that. It might have been. Hell, I don't know. But these fit in just with as well as the other trees. Not quite as realistic as the other ones, but hey, you know me and trees. I'm not turning those suckers down. She also picked up these pumpkins for our crops. These things are pretty cute. I like them. They're a bit of a bear to install. As you can see, a couple of them are actually floating above the table itself. The vines are extremely stiff, and trying to bend them to fit and everything, it's a bit of a pain. But I do like them nonetheless. The last thing we did, you actually really can't see. We installed some more insulation in the windowsill to completely enclose in the bottom section of the layout. During the day in here operating trains, depending on what angle you were looking at the layout, you could see daylight protruding out of our tunnel portholes. Obviously that didn't make a whole lot of sense. You're heading into a mountain. So I wanted to get that light blocked out. But the second reason I put these in was actually a happy accident. I really wasn't planning on this, but damn did it work out well, and it makes complete sense as to why. But obviously we have a ton of that foam insulation used on this layout, especially around our tunnels. This whole face of the mountain is foam, the tunnel portholes are foam, the interior walls of the tunnel are foam. When the engines and trains are heading into the tunnel, they really sound like a real train going into the tunnel. That foam insulation absorbs all the sound. It sounds extremely great. I don't know how to describe it. I don't think the mic would be able to pick it up or do it justice, but here in person, it really sounds like a real train entering a tunnel. It goes in and the sound completely dissipates as it rounds the curves over here. But the downside was, with the opening here in the window opening of the back side of the layout, the trains would get along that window and all that sound would echo out and blast or echo off of that glass back there, and it would come right back in your face and hit you. It was almost like you were standing right next to the train. So getting that foam installed really blocked out the sound. Now it sounds like they're really running under a mountain. It's really neat. Like I say, I didn't plan on that, never even thought about it, but now that it's here, it makes complete sense. Ironically, the very last thing we got completely installed happens to be the very first thing we purchased for this upper level, and that was our wind turbine. We finally got this thing up and operating. I went ahead, I got it wired in, and I wired in a switch up here on the frame of the layout to power it. But yeah, it was really cool to finally get this up and operational. I posted a short video of this wind turbine in operation the other day, and this thing garnished a lot of attention. People seem to love this. I had a lot of questions. Now, originally, K-Line was the original producer or manufacturer of these wind turbines. Later on, Lionel picked up the tooling, and they offered them a few times as well. I think the last run was back in 2013, 2015, several years ago regardless. You'd be very hard-pressed to find one of these new at a store or somewhere, so you're kind of stuck with the second-hand market, and that's how I picked this one up. This one came from a Facebook page or group. Gentleman had, I think at one point, 25 of them on his layout, but he was selling them all off and getting rid of them, and that's how I came across this one. From what I've learned doing some research on these wind turbines, unfortunately it seems the motor that they installed to spin the propeller, the windmill itself, is underpowered. Obviously it'll turn the blades, but I guess it's just underpowered. You wouldn't think it because it's all plastic, the 3 plastic blades, you'd think there'd be no issue, but apparently there is. You do not want to hardwire or run straight power to this windmill or wind turbine all the time. If you do that, it'll probably burn up and fry the motor and it will no longer be able to spin. You definitely want to have a switch installed so you can cut it off. You just don't want to have it running endlessly for extreme amounts of time. Probably run it for half hour or so and turn it off. Honestly, I myself probably won't be running this a whole lot. This will be reserved more for videos or when we have friends and family or visitors over here to the layout. I'll let people play with it, and it'll be a fun little accessory to see. This is definitely my favorite view of the new elevated scene. A really nice sight to see as you're walking into the train room from this side. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Obviously, I'm no Norm Charbonneau over at Norm's Trains. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I am quite pleased with how it came out. It looks just good enough or realistic enough to pull off the high rail type of layout look. But at the same time, there's enough whimsical, almost toy-like charm to it, especially with our UFO scene, that you don't take it too seriously. It's still a whole lot of fun. Puts off a nice visual effect for our trains to run through, but I'm not overly worried about it or stressing over everything looking perfect and having just the right amount of details or weathering or anything like that. It's still very enjoyable. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. With the elevated section complete, as you can see, I did start doing some work down here on the main level. We got some ground cover and ballast installed. Got some greenery back there in the window opening. Thought that looked a lot better than just a flat edge that went off into the window. But yeah, pretty nice. I will say, originally I thought doing the ballast in the tunnels was going to be the hardest part. But damn, I don't know what it is. This ballast under this bridge was a pain. I had to fight it. I guess it's just being cramped, laying or squatting down here on the table, it sucked. But we got it in. We still got a little ways to go, which we'll get to in the future. I really don't plan on doing a whole lot, much more work to this area. It's under a bridge. It's going to be next to our engine facilities / rail yard. So in real life, I'm sure this track would be well kept. So we'll probably just keep it dirt and ballast as you see it here and continue it on. I did pick up 2 more left-hand 072 switches that you can see here for our rail yard or engine facilities. And I actually had to do quite a bit of work to get these installed. We did some alterations to our original track work. Our crossover back here, I actually moved back further or closer to the tunnel. Originally, this crossover was 10 inches this way. I just had to remove the 10-inch sections over here and push it back 10 inches. But yeah, this was a bit more work. I have a lot of wire feeds over here powering the track, especially in between the switches and whatnot. So it's a lot more work than what it just sounds like. But we got that done. We got our switches installed. The reason we moved it back was to get some longer whisker tracks to park stuff on. But yeah, originally I was only planning on doing the 4 whisker tracks, but now that I got it completely installed, I want your guys' opinion. We've got this big open space still over here. I'm thinking of installing one more and having it jut out a little bit further and coming up the middle over here. There's really not a whole lot I could do with a scene right here in between the lake and the rail yard. I could possibly do a couple more small hills or something over here, but besides that, that's really all I can do. What do you guys think? Should we put one more switch in over here? If we do, I'd probably do like a big coaling tower or something like that for the engine yard. But yeah, let me know what you think. But yeah, there she is, guys. Like I say, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm always looking for tips, tricks, or ideas that we could incorporate into this layout. We have quite a few of them that were viewer suggestions here that I really like. I'm always looking for new ideas. It's one of the best parts about this channel, being able to share stuff with other people. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video on the new elevated section of the second layout. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. For those of you that are really interested, I'll post some links in the description below because we have documented basically this whole layout build so far. If you want to see how something was made or built or installed here on the layout in a past video, you should be able to find them here on the channel or in one of the links below. But anyways, guys, until next time, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-around.